10, involving palace staff in his affair. Even Charles's cleaning staff once kept his affair with Camilla a secret. Or at the very least, they tried. The Prince of Wales' affair with the Duchess of Cornwall, which occurred while Charles was married to Diana, is well known to royal family followers. And it's safe to assume that some members of the family are dissatisfied with the fact that their affair is getting screen time on Netflix's The Crown, making it by far one of the biggest royal relationship scandals. However, juicy details about their affair are harder to come by. In a well-known interview with News of the World, the prince's valet Ken Stronach shared shocking details about Charles's affair. He was even fired because of his breach of confidentiality. Stronach claimed at the time that he scrubbed grass stains from Charles's pajamas after the prince would sneak out of bed in the middle of the night to meet with Camilla, and even made sure his bed looked like he'd slept in it by ruffling it up. It was very elaborate, but no one was fooled by it. He stated to the newspaper at the time, "We've all been told not to speak to anyone about anything. Throughout his time with Charles, I became extremely ill as a result of the strain of keeping his secrets. Even though Charles has admitted to the affair and married Camilla, it's clear the firm still doesn't like to talk about the royal drama." Number 9, spreading rumors about Diana. Diana's former chief of staff has blasted King Charles's former courtiers for spreading lies that she was mentally ill. Patrick Jeffson, who worked closely alongside Diana for 8 years, alleges that Charles's staff smeared his first wife in a systematic campaign, while it was an open secret within the establishment that he was having an affair with longtime mistress Camilla. Jeffson said, "This is not just some casual gossip, it was a systematic campaign." Okay, it was a long time ago, but the man they were supporting is now our king, and these things should not be buried. They should not be conveniently pushed to one side. He went on to say there was a lot of nonsense talked about Diana, including rumors that she had an eating disorder and mental illness. He said, "I heard it all from people who should have known better. I think they felt threatened by her popularity, but some of the stuff was just nasty. She did not deserve it." Jeffson also claims that he witnessed firsthand how Charles was affected by the breakdown of his marriage with Diana. He said there were times when he seemed almost in despair over the whole thing. It was sad to see him so powerless yet still loving her at the same time. He added Charles was a victim of his own courtiers who had a point of view that was very much the king must be protected, but they failed to realize that people were flocking to Diana and she needed protecting too. Jeffson's powerful condemnation of Charles's former courtiers serves as an important reminder that no one should be subject to malicious gossip or lies, especially someone as beloved as Princess Diana. Even though it happened over 20 years ago, Diana's story still serves as a lesson in standing up against unfairness and injustice. On to number 8, scandals. This family has been involved in scandals for generations. Being knee-deep in controversies is not a good look for the representation of Britain, but they somehow managed to pay the news outlets to run stories to promote them in a good way. I mean, they managed to be so perfect that people sweep their complete wrongdoings under a rug, which, might I add, has to be a huge rug. No one is obviously perfect, but the extent to which the royals have been exposed for the controversies is so out of pocket that is actually shocking. And the fact that these news stories have not at all gotten as much attention as something as mediocre as Meghan potentially lying about being pregnant. It's crazy. Political correspondent Nadine Batchelor Hunt argued that the royals are becoming increasingly out of place in contemporary society due to the family's past and present scandals. Number 7, travels funded by the citizens. The royal family's huge travel budget has more to do than just them having a lot of money, with one trip back in 2017 costing them $5.8 million. A few royal travel protocols they must follow included color-coded luggage, traveling with an entourage, packing a black outfit in case of an emergency funeral, and that royal heirs can't travel together just in case a plane goes down. Number 6, unloyalty. The revelations of infidelity in Charles's marriage to Diana left him, and now Queen Camilla, deeply unpopular. While he has managed to regain some positive sentiment in the British public, he remains less esteemed than many other members of the royal family. A poll showed in April 2022 that nearly half of Britons think Charles should let his son Prince William be the next king. A YouGov polling ranks him as the 7th most popular royal behind his mother, daughter-in-law Kate, son William, father Prince Philip, sister Princess Anne, and niece Zara Tyndall. Number 5, donation scandal. Charles had once been embroiled in controversy over donations to his charities. The Sunday Times of London reported that the half-brothers of a controversial figure made a $1.2 million donation to a Prince of Wales charitable fund back in 2013, and Charles's official office, Clarence House, said the royal did not personally solicit the donation. Number 4, hiding details about their wealth. The royal family is under few requirements to disclose details of its wealth, but all I'm gonna say is if you want to find out, you can. The family's communications with the government are exempt from freedom of information requests. How convenient. Their official papers are kept secret by Britain's National Archives for at least 50 years, so the lack of transparency has led anti-monarchy groups, including the Republic, to call the monarchy an unaccountable public institution that has the power, secrecy, and influence to willfully abuse its position. Without a change, many details of the royal family's private wealth may never be known. Facts about the Duchy of Lancaster's offshore investments were leaked back in 2017, detailing roughly $13 million in offshore accounts. Other reports have suggested questionable foreign dealings or arrangements. King Charles was also once accused of offering to help secure a knighthood for a Saudi national in response to a donation to his charitable foundation. Representatives of Charles denied any impropriety, but obviously that sounds a little sus. Number 3, slipping away from scrutiny. Despite the threats against their lives, Charles and Diana became intensely secretive as their marriage came to an end, at times even evading their own security teams. Diana was the worst, according to the secret royals. Even early in her marriage, she became rather good at giving her own security the slip. Like an intelligence operative, she knew how to elude her tail. This caused periodic panics when royal flunkies realized she had slid out to go shopping down the King's Road, protected only by a pair of stylish sunglasses. But even with their lack of transparency, Charles and Diana were the subject of intense media scrutiny, as they were constantly tracked and photographed by the paparazzi. According to the secret royals, royal watchers had a field day for many years. Photographers scoured Kensington Palace in search of images that might depict any hint of marital discord between Charles and Diana. On occasion, they found it. Unfortunately for the couple, these moments often made front-page news. Number 2, Diana's mental health struggles. After learning about the tragic ending of Diana and Charles's marriage, we find out how much his unfaithful and negligent actions impacted Diana's mental health. He clearly has narcissistic tendencies to the point where it became detrimental to Diana's health while she was still alive. Diana struggled while trying to find her place in the royal family, and her mental health needs were not met. The royal family has tiptoed around acknowledging its failures in relation to Princess Diana, but years ago they flat out blamed her for everything that happened to her. In one chilling report, Diana is said to have thrown herself down the stairs while pregnant with Prince William. She had morning sickness throughout the pregnancy and also struggled with an eating disorder. In the documentary, Diana, in her own words, she says, "Charles said I was crying wolf, and I said I felt so desperate and I was crying my eyes out, and he said, 'I'm not gonna listen. You're always doing this to me. I'm going riding now.' So I threw myself down the stairs." Unfortunately, Charles didn't seem very bothered. The Queen comes out absolutely horrified, shaking. She was so frightened. "I knew I wasn't gonna lose the baby, quite bruised around the stomach." Charles went out riding, and when he came back, it was just dismissal, total dismissal. He just carried on out of the door. Paul, one of Diana's former butlers, said that the princess predicted her own passing in a car crash. Apparently, she was so scared 10 months before she passed away that she wrote to Paul saying that there was a plot made by a member of the royal family and that her car brakes would be tampered with and she would suffer serious head injuries, and all of this would be so that the Prince of Wales could marry again. The letter she wrote read, "I'm sitting here at my desk today in October, longing for someone to hug me and encourage me to keep strong and hold my head high. This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injury in order to make the path clear for him. Camilla is nothing but a decoy." Will Charles ever speak on this super suspicious letter? Most likely not, but we do need the answers. And finally, number 1, jealousy. During his first marriage to Princess Diana, he had his first significant encounter with disapproving public opinion. Archival footage of the couple touring Australia in the new HBO documentary The Princess suggests that he was jealous of how much more popular she was. Diana confirmed that Charles envied the public's devotion to his wife in her explosive '95 interview with the BBC's Martin Bashir. The pressure on us both as a couple with the media was phenomenal and misunderstood by a great many people, she said. "We'd be going round Australia, for instance, and all you could hear was, 'Oh, she's on the other side.'" Diana subsequently clarified that the waiting crowds were expressing their disappointment that Charles was closer to them rather than Diana. Number 10, political scandals. King Charles had been accused of attempting to influence the British government. In 2015, Charles received confidential papers on the inner workings of the British government and that even elected ministers hadn't seen. How did he manage to get his hands on these papers? I have a feeling the excuse that he was part of the monarchy is not a good enough reason, but for now, let's just say that is why, since it is undetermined. The Guardian received 27 memos dubbed the Black Spider memos because it showed that the royal prince was somehow engaged in efforts about a range of issues, from orders of military helicopters during the Iraq War to illegal fishing of the Patagonian toothfish. The controversy here is that some people believe it's normal for a royal to be involved in political affairs, while some think members of the family should stay out of politics. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Number 9, financial scandal. Another scandal for us to talk about. Charles allegedly accepted unofficial commissions from a previous Qatari prime minister for his charitable endeavors. Sounds fishy. As a supporter of homeopathy, he had earned the label of being anti-science. Yikes. Charles has also drawn criticism for his lavish spendings. The king has 6 homes on his estate, 11 secretaries, a large staff of servants, many expensive cars, and an annual salary of $20 million. Yeah, I get that he's a king, but it's very interesting to know that not only does he have this insane annual income, but on top of that, the whole family is extremely secretive of their wealth and where exactly they get this money from. Any theories? I want to know. Any theories are welcome in the comments section. Please let me know what you guys think. Number 8, charity scandal. British police had launched an investigation with Charles's charity, the Prince's Trust, after reports of a cash for honor scheme. Accusations were made that a close aide, Michael Fawcett, offered a Saudi tycoon a knighthood in exchange for $2 million in donations. The investigation started after it was reported that Fawcett stepped down from his role as the chief exec of the foundation after being accused of misconduct. It was reported that tens of thousands of dollars were paid to make up for links to the king. So basically, they were trying to bribe Fawcett by offering him a royal title in exchange for money which allegedly would be going towards their foundation. Suspicious. Number 7, not the people's king. As hard as it might be for Charles, a key part of being the king is winning over the people, and as overwhelming his scandalous past has been, it's no surprise that there are still people who do not care for him as a king. Many reports from royal sources have claimed that the newly appointed king has waited 70 years for this moment and wants to do as much as he can to become a progressive monarchy and also to win over the hearts of the nation, as well as internationally. But because of their actions, media outlets and those who are more engaged in the royal family drama, like us, have been diving more into the history of the royals, which, let me tell you, is not the most perfect and influential history in the world. Tainted by the countless controversies and scandals, the royal family has been catching a lot of heat about how they are not using their power for the greater good, but rather abusing it while also remaining very secretive. Number 6, anger issues. The seemingly storybook romance between Diana and Charles. We all know how that ended. But one author claims things were much darker behind closed doors. Christopher Anderson has written a book about Queen Elizabeth's eldest son titled The King, The Life of Charles III. He spoke to numerous palace insiders as well as those who've known the former Prince of Wales or worked with him closely over the years. His goal was to further investigate the 74-year-old's lonely childhood and military training, as well as several scandals surrounding his relationships that rocked the House of Windsor. The marriage between Charles and Diana became so volatile that royal protection officers were wary of all the weapons scattered around the palace. Red flag. Anderson claimed the king had a huge temper. The constant tantrums and throwing a boot jack, which is a heavy wooden device for putting on hunting boots, made of iron and wood, which he threw at Diana's head and missed her, by the way. It was Charles's former valet, Ken Stronach, who alleged to Anderson that he was in the room when Charles, in the middle of an argument with Diana, grabbed a heavy wooden boot jack and threw it at her, missing the princess's head by inches. This relationship was so toxic from the beginning. The fact that it lasted 15 years is sad. Anderson wrote that during the marriage, Charles had sunk into a deep depression and thought he was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. He turned to one of his confidants, Arnold Goodman, and allegedly said, "I have nothing to live for." Goodman allegedly felt that Charles was showing the classic signs of depression. Charles not only believed he was trapped in a loveless marriage, but he feared that a divorce, if it could even be granted by the Queen, would have grave repercussions for his children, the royal family, and the monarchy itself. Number 5, royal wealth. Now that King Charles is living a king-size life, how can we pretend there aren't any regal secrets he's keeping from us? After inheriting the properties from his mother, Queen Elizabeth, Charles has been getting a lot more attention, and obviously we're gonna dig into the English wealth and their secrets. For a regular British citizen, any inheritance over $380,000 is taxed 40%. But King Charles doesn't have to pay anything on properties, jewels, and investments that probably are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Whatever happened to eating the rich? The royal treatment is getting out of hand. Having all this money and privilege on top of not having to pay all the taxes that you need to pay? Insane. The same document explains that the British Crown is also not legally liable for income tax or capital gains tax. Personally, I think the British people should overthrow the throne at this point because taxes shouldn't be reserved for regular citizens. Or what if they flipped and only taxed the extremely rich? Only. That is a society I would love to live in. Number 4, hiding details about their wealth. The royal family is under few requirements to disclose details of its wealth, but all I'm gonna say is if you want to find out, you can. The family's communications with the government are exempt from freedom of information requests, and their official papers are kept secret by Britain's National Archives for at least 50 years. The lack of transparency has led anti-monarchy groups, including the Republic, to call the monarchy an unaccountable public institution that has the power, secrecy, and influence to willfully abuse its position. Without a change, many details of the royal family's private wealth may never be known. Facts about the Duchy of Lancaster's offshore investments were leaked back in 2017, and those detailed roughly $13 million in offshore accounts. Other reports have suggested questionable foreign dealings or arrangements, including the knighthood offered to a Saudi national in response to the donation to his charitable foundation. Number 3, Princess Diana's letter. Paul, one of Diana's former butlers, said that the princess predicted her own passing in a car crash. Eerie. Apparently she was so scared 10 months before she passed that she wrote to Paul saying that there was a plot made by a member of the royal family and that her car brakes would be tampered with and she would suffer serious head injuries, and all of this would be so that the Prince of Wales could marry again. The letter she wrote read, "I'm sitting here at my desk today in October longing for someone to hug me and encourage me to keep strong and hold my head high. This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure, and serious head injury in order to make the path clear for him to marry." And whatever happened to this letter? They kept it in a very safe place, but will Charles ever elaborate on this super suspicious letter by Diana? Most likely not, but we would love to know the answers to this. Number 2, the royal affair. This one is no big secret. The Princess of Wales was very much aware of Charles cheating on her with Camilla. His mistress at the time was regarded as a villain long before Diana and Charles filed for divorce, and additionally she was resented up until the passing of Diana. The then Duchess of Cornwall was not specifically held accountable for Prince Diana's misfortune, but they did, however, discover a newfound hatred for her. And because of that hatred, Camilla had to hide for months. If Camilla had never gotten herself in this mess with Charles being one of the most hated royals, it would have never been something she'd have to worry about. But it makes you question, if he cheated on Diana, who knows if he's cheated on Camilla? And was able to somehow figure out how to successfully hide it from her. Number 1, the unwelcome mistress. The British public's acceptance of Camilla as Charles's lover was put on hold after Diana's passing. Even though it seemed illogical, Diana's passing made Camilla a supervillain in the royal saga. Charles and Camilla probably would have married much earlier if Diana had survived and gotten married as expected. Instead, for a number of years, they kept the relationship under wraps and out of the public eye. In 2004, the Prince of Wales tied the knot with his longtime partner, but she chose not to style her name as Princess of Wales. Number 10, the cheating scandals. The royal scandals aren't complete without a little sprinkle of cheating. The then prince infamously had an affair with Camilla while married to Diana. And if you're unfamiliar with the story, the late princess had known about the affair and even had affairs of her own, but the lack of attention she was getting from her husband, also the father of 2, Harry and William, was upsetting for her. After a transcript of a phone call between Charles and Camilla was leaked, which, side note, is very invasive, it revealed their affair because of how sexual the phone call was and was later named the Tampon Gate Scandal. Yeah. You heard that right. During the conversation, a very famous line said by Charles is constantly mocked where he says he wants to become a tampon so he could live inside Camilla's pants. How romantic. All the Princess Diana's lovers also made it their mission to become extreme haters of Charles and even Camilla, leaving the royal affair and the two involved very unpopular amongst many. HBO documentary The Princess even insinuates that Prince Charles may have been jealous of how much more popular Diana was than the then prince himself. Yikes, that's a little embarrassing. But to be fair, the late princess was a true icon in more than one sense. I mean, her fashion choices are still being recreated in this day and age. Her impact was crazy. Now for Charles, I don't think we can say the same. After learning about the tragic ending of Diana and Charles's marriage, we find out how much his unfaithful and negligent actions impacted Diana's mental health. He clearly has narcissistic tendencies to the point where it became detrimental to Diana's health while she was alive. On to number 9, political scandals. King Charles had been accused of attempting to influence the British government in a very shady way. In 2015, King Charles received confidential papers on the inner workings of the British government that even elected ministers hadn't seen. So how did he manage to get his hands on these papers? I have a feeling the excuse that he was a part of the monarchy is not a good enough reason, but for now, let's just say that is why, since it is undetermined. The Guardian received 27 memos, dubbed the Black Spider memos, because it showed that the royal prince, then prince, was somehow engaged in efforts about a range of issues, from orders of military helicopters during the Iraq War to illegal fishing of the Patagonian toothfish. The controversy here is that some believe it is normal for a royal to be involved in political affairs, while others think the members of the family should stay out of politics. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments section if you believe royals should be involved or steer clear of the politics. On to number 8, financial scandal. Another scandal for us to talk about. Charles allegedly accepted unofficial commissions from a previous Qatari prime minister from his charitable endeavors. Sounds fishy. As a supporter of homeopathy, he'd earned the label of being anti-science. Charles has also drawn criticism for his lavish spendings. The king has 6 homes on his estate, 11 secretaries, a large staff of servants, many expensive cars, and an annual salary of, potentially more now, but 20 million was back then when we found this information. Now I get that he's the king, but it is very interesting to know not only does he have this insane annual income, but on top of that, the whole family is extremely secretive of their wealth and where exactly they're possibly getting this amount of money. The people. Any theories? I mean, I want to know what you think they could be doing for them to be able to afford this lifestyle. Number 7, charity scandal. The British police had launched an investigation with King Charles's charity, the Prince's Trust, after reports of a cash for honor scheme. Accusations were made that a close aide, Michael Fawcett, offered a Saudi tycoon a knighthood in exchange for $2 million in donations. The investigation started after it was reported that Fawcett stepped down from his role as the chief executive of the foundation after being accused of misconduct. It was reported that tens of thousands of dollars were paid to make up for links to the prince. So basically they were trying to bribe Fawcett by offering him a royal title in exchange for money which allegedly would be going towards their foundation. Sounds suspicious. Number 6, not the people's king. As hard as it might be for Charles, a key part of being the king is winning over the people. And as overwhelming his scandalous past has been, it is no surprise that there are still people who do not care for him as king. Many reports from royal sources have claimed that the newly appointed king has waited 70 years for this moment and wants to do as much as he can to become a progressive monarchy and win the hearts of the nation, as well as internationally. But because of their actions, media outlets and those who are more engaged in the royal family drama like us have been diving more into the history of the royals, which let me tell you is not the most perfect and influential history in the world. Tainted by countless controversies and scandals, the royal family has been catching a lot of heat about how they are not using their power for the greater good, but rather abusing it while also remaining secretive. What are your thoughts? Do you think the royal family is being smart about the power they have? Considering the scandals the king and other members have been a part of, is it acceptable for them to be the way they are portrayed in the media? And number 5, the Not My King protesters arrested. Clad in yellow and holding signs proclaiming "Not My King," protesters against the coronation of Charles were arrested in London. Graham Smith, chief executive of Republic, a prominent anti-monarchy group in the UK, was arrested along with 5 others while unloading signs reading "Not My King," according to tweets from the group and Associated Press. They are under arrest, end of story, a police officer says in a video tweeted by the Alliance of European Republican Movements, an organization advocating for the end of monarchies across Europe. The officer did not say anything further when the videographers attempted to ask why the protesters are being arrested. Number 4, Andrew. The extremely problematic brother of Charles was also in attendance during the coronation, and obviously what he's partaking in is horrible and extremely embarrassing for the royal family, but unlike Harry, Andrew hasn't self-deported and dramatically burned bridges with the family, which is enough of an excuse to include him from the coronation, apparently. The Duke of York was there, but you may have had a hard time spotting him. Andrew had been barred from standing on the balcony at Buckingham Palace since he's not a working royal, but he is still a Knight of the Garter though, and they traditionally play a significant role in the coronation. But since, he's been moving pretty whack and disgusting, it sounds like the ceremony had been changed to exclude the prince entirely. On to number 3, involving palace staff in the affair. Even King Charles's cleaning staff once kept his affair with Camilla a secret from Princess Diana, or at the very least, they tried to. The then Prince of Wales' affair with the Duchess of Cornwall, which occurred while Charles was married to Princess Diana, is well known to royal family followers. It's safe to assume that some members of the royal family are dissatisfied with the fact that their affair was getting screen time on Netflix's The Show The Crown, making it by far one of the biggest royal relationship scandals. In a well-known interview with News of the World, the Princess' valet Ken Stronach shared shocking details about Charles's affair. He was even fired because of his breach of confidentiality. Stronach claimed at the time that he scrubbed grass stains from Charles's pajamas after the prince would sneak out of bed in the middle of the night to meet with Camilla, and even made sure his bed looked like he had slept there by ruffling it up. It was very elaborate, but no one was fooled by it. The valet claimed he'd become ill as a result of the strain of keeping Charles's secrets. He stated to a newspaper at the time, "We've all been told not to speak to anyone about anything throughout his time with Charles, and he became extremely ill as a result of the strain of keeping his secrets." Even though Charles had admitted to the affair and married Duchess Camilla, it's clear the firm still doesn't like to talk about the royal stuff. Number 2, jealousy. During his marriage to Diana, he had his first significant encounter with disapproving public opinion. Archival footage of the couple touring Australia suggests he was jealous of how much more popular she was. Diana even confirmed this in the explosive 1995 interview with BBC's Martin Bashir. The pressure on us both as a couple with the media was phenomenal and misunderstood by a great many people. We'd be going around Australia, for instance, and all you could hear was, "Oh, she's on the other side." Diana subsequently clarified that the waiting crowds were expressing their disappointment that Charles was closer to them rather than Diana, explaining they weren't on the right side to wave at me or to touch me. And finally, number 1, hiding details about their wealth. The royal family is under few requirements to disclose details of its wealth, but all I'm gonna say is if you want to find out, it's not too difficult to go all Sherlock Holmes on the family. The family's communications with the government are exempt from freedom of information requests, and their official papers are kept secret by Britain's National Archives for at least 50 years. The lack of transparency has led anti-monarchy groups, including the Republic, to call the monarchy an unaccountable public institution that has the power, secrecy, and influence to willfully abuse its position. Without a change, many details of the royal family's private wealth may never be known. Facts about the Duchy of Lancaster's offshore investments were leaked back in 2017, and those detailed roughly $13 million in offshore accounts. $13 million! I wonder what else can be revealed if more docs were suddenly leaked. Seriously, we need some more investigative work done on this family. Other reports have suggested questionable foreign dealings or arrangements, even though the representatives of the monarchy, of course, deny any impropriety. Number 10, Camilla's interaction with a kid. The Queen visited Bernardo's nursery in East London to give out Paddington bears and teddies left in tribute to Elizabeth after her passing. During the engagement, she joined some children as they played, and she spoke to a little black girl about her pretty bracelets. Footage
Footage that showed Camilla lifting the girl's arm by her sleeve went viral, and some on social media also commented on a photograph of Camilla hugging another young girl. Sholama Shogbamimu, author of This Is Why I Resist, wrote on Twitter, "The way Camilla holds this child's hand is very disturbing. I have a strong itch to slap her hand right off. What the hell did she think she was doing to this black child?" Another Twitter user wrote, "Many of the Bernardo's children have already heartbreakingly suffered abuse, trauma, and loss around adults. Camilla did 100% the right thing. She was tentative and gave the child autonomy in their contact. Eventually, she did get the little hand. Bravo, Camilla, you did well." On to number 9, King Charles shaking hands after Queen Elizabeth's passing. Charles is seen in the montage greeting members of the public in London in the aftermath of Queen Elizabeth's passing. The king appears to miss out a black man in the crowd before shaking a white man's hand, with one Twitter user at the time stating this guy did it deliberately. Others pointed out Charles had shaken the hands of other black people during the walkabout. Footage of the moment was viewed 10 million times on Twitter and liked almost 200,000 times. On to number 8, King's coronation. One moment which had viewers on the edge of their seats was the official crowning of King Charles, where it appeared the historic crown wouldn't fit on his head. The Archbishop of Canterbury spent several seconds adjusting the St. Edward's crown as Westminster Abbey fell into complete silence. Mr. Welby appeared to place it on the king's head firmly before giving it a twist in an attempt to keep it on as Charles sat completely still. The crown is known to be heavy, with the monarch once commenting on how his mother, the late queen, said goodnight to him while wearing it so she could get used to its weight on her head before her coronation in 1953. Queen Camilla solidified her inheritance inside the English royal family when she was crowned alongside King Charles. Although they've been married since 2005, their love story is not exactly a royal fairy tale like those that have been romanticized throughout history. Instead, it has been characterized by a complicated past that began long before Camilla and the new king exchanged wedding vows. Number 7, pen incident. King Charles was faced with another mishap with a fountain pen after last year's fiasco in Belfast. Queen Camilla came to his aid last year as he struggled to get the pen to work, and during the ceremony it seemed the pen also wasn't working, as Charles was seen grimacing as he placed the lid back on top of the pen. The monarch is known to carry a pen around him when he's frequently asked to sign visitors' books, but appears to be letting him down lately. On to number 6, backlash. Charles's troubled past has been exposed numerous times now that he is king. He was accused of trying to involve the British government in some shady, suspicious behavior. A senior member of parliament dubbed Charles Britain's best informed lobbyist after it was revealed in 2015 that he had received secret documents about the British government's inner workings that not even elected ministers had seen. The royal engaged in personal lobbying efforts to senior politicians about a variety of topics, including illegal fishing of the Patagonian toothfish and orders of military cops during the Iraq War, according to 27 memos that were provided to The Guardian and dubbed the Black Spider. Clarence House stated at the time that it is typical for heirs to the throne to be briefed on political topics. However, critics argue that members of the royal family should avoid politics. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Number 5, the royal family versus Camilla. Even though Charles and Camilla's relationship was pretty serious, Camilla was viewed negatively by most people, including the royals. For one thing, she was thought to be an experienced woman and not aristocratic enough. It is no secret or surprise that Diana's 2 sons never truly accepted Camilla once Charles brought her into the family, and although William might be less vocal about his opinion on her, especially as the future king, Prince Harry never held back his feelings about the Queen. As the notorious 3rd member of Princess Diana and then Prince Charles's marriage, she faces criticism constantly, resembling the evil stepmother from fairy tales. In memoir Spare, Prince Harry says that she was trying to get rid of her other woman reputation and be seen as a legitimate royal wife by bargaining with the British tabloid media at his expense. Harry explained that after marrying Prince Charles in 2005, Camilla sought a revamp and was dubbed the villain by the British press because of the connections she was making within the British press that made her dangerous. He stated, additionally, there was an unmistakable willingness on both sides to exchange information. And given that she was on her way to becoming queen consort and that she came from a family that was structured in a hierarchical manner, there were bound to be people or bodies discarded in the open. On to number 4, the phone call transcripts. In the wake of the separation announcement of Diana and Charles, multiple media outlets published the Tampon Gate tape transcript. You just had to be there. Some outlets referred to the tape as Camilla Gate in reference to Charles's mistress. Others speculated whether the tape would prevent Charles from someday ascending to the throne. I mean, I guess we can safely say that it has not. The public was so interested that people could call a phone number to listen to the tape of the actual phone call. A full transcript of the call depicts Charles and Camilla playing the age-old lovers' game of refusing to hang up the phone on one another. At the end of the call, just before casually dropping in how Charles wants to be Camilla's tampon. Hey, if you're gonna love, love hard, right? On to number 3, not the Queen's choice. It is not a secret that the extramarital affair between Charles and Camilla rocked the crown to its foundation. Queen Elizabeth, the king's late mother, was furious more than anyone else, so much that the Duchess was not allowed to enter the palace for some time. She was only able to have a meeting with the Queen in 2000 because the late monarch had refused to meet her before then. On to number 2, the public reaction. King Charles' second wife, Camilla, is unlikely to be forgiven for her role in the breakdown of the marriage between Charles and Diana because of Diana's legacy, which has won her a new generation of admirers. In the early 90s, when Charles appeared to confirm rumors that he had been having an affair during an interview with Jonathan Dimbleby in '94, Camilla became a person of interest. Charles stated that Camilla had been a friend for a very long time and will continue to be a friend for a very long time. Susanna Reid, the host of Good Morning Britain, suggested in the beginning of the discussion that the British public had moved past their negative feelings toward Camilla in the 90s following her 2005 marriage to Charles and seamless integration into the royal family. And finally, number 1, the notorious mistress. Diana and Charles welcomed William in 1982 and Harry in 1984. By 1986, Charles had revived his love affair with Camilla. According to Morton and Camilla's biographer Penny Juror, who described Camilla as the most notorious mistress in the world, both Diana and Andrew, Camilla's ex-husband, were aware of their affair. In 1986, Diana also started a series of affairs, one of which was with cavalry officer James Hewitt. During an interview, Diana confessed that she was revered and enamored with Hewitt, but their relationship ended around 1991. That is all for today. Let me know what you think about the King and Queen of England. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more news on your favorite celebrities, and I'll catch you next time on The Rich Life.